on today's Success and Excuses, we have Andrew Hulbert.
Nice to meet you. How you doing?
Welcome to Success and Excuses, Andrew.
As always, we always have a podcast before we even start the podcast, right? We've just discussed London, we've discussed travel, we've done everything. So it's all good. Luckily, the cameras are turned on now. But
Brilliant. Listen, tell us a bit about yourself. Who are you? What do you do? Who is Andrew?
Crumbs. I'm still trying to work that out, you know. I'm 39 now. That's probably the interesting part. I started a business when I was 27 in property services in London and called Pareto, and I grew that business to a 50 million turnover business over 10 years, 500 staff, some of the biggest, most amazing client names and brands in the world that you can imagine. Managed to raise $100 million in private equity exit value for that. I exited when I was 37, so 2 years ago. So had a successful entrepreneurial career, made many mistakes along the way, which I'm sure we'll talk about.
That's exactly what we're going to talk about
journey today. But no, genuinely, I ran a business that for 10 years grew every quarter consecutively for 10 straight years.
Wow.
And then we exited. Really hard work and many mistakes, as I mentioned. Yeah, I stepped back when I was 37. I bought a farm over in Oxford where I live now. And I've gone back to being a full-time dad. So really now I either do the school run or I go and record a podcast. So that's what my life is about these days. And really, I'm just trying to go out there to tell the story. I have nothing to sell. I have no book. I have no masterclass, none of that. Just trying to sell the story that entrepreneurship isn't for everybody, but it can be for people with the right mindset. And I started with nothing, literally from my bedroom with a laptop and an idea. And I'm just trying to show people that they can do the same. And actually, a lot of what you see online and a lot of the successful entrepreneurs is total bullshit.
Absolutely. That's why this podcast exists.
Yes.
Because I actually wrote a book called You Can Have Success or Excuses You Cannot Have Both. And it is exactly what you said. It's about the real story. The days when you don't know how you're going to put food in the table. The days when you're just like, you're so heavily invested in the future of the business and, you know, you don't have a nice pot of money sitting there. You know, this constant and the mistakes. And that's where I want to go next.
Yes, okay,
I want to go, because I agree. Social media puts a really false vision of being a business owner or an entrepreneur. I just, most of it is absolute shite.
Yes, well, and also because like everyone's pretending to drive around in Ferraris and things, they just rented one for the day. What I love the most, you see this a lot, especially with men, they walk up to a car as if it's theirs. So someone will film themselves going up to like a nice Aston Martin or whatever, it's not their car. So don't think that it is. And also you can hire these things relatively easily. There are some influencers who pretend to own helicopters, but they just do test lessons in them and things. But and like certainly for younger people that are watching where social media is such an important part of their lives and nothing we can do about that, just remember, look a little bit deeper. It's a bit like when you're trying to work out whether a video is AI or not. When you see someone who's successful, are they really successful? Because some people get successful by saying they're successful, and that's entrepreneurship at the end of the day. But for me, I went on the journey, I made the money, I made the tens of millions. And
now made the mistakes.
And I made the mistakes and everything that goes with it. So
Brilliant. I am so, I mean, I actually wrote an article about this, that exact subject. About people showing off these fancy cars, right? And I love nice cars. I love nice things, right? But when we made our first million in business, people are like, why are you driving a Lexus? Well, I can't, my business can, I mean, the business would be buying it. Like, I can afford to run about in a Lamborghini or a Porsche, but why would I do that? That's $3 or $4 grand every month towards a car. When I could put that in marketing budget and grow my business. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
And I just think sometimes, and don't get me wrong, if you're a very successful business owner and you've got, you know, really, okay, fair dues. You know, it's nice to be have nice things. As we all agree, we go into business because we like nice things. But it's a hard graft, and that's where I want to go. So I want to go back to the early age, early days.
Early days,
how did the idea? This is what I love about these conversations is because when you talk to entrepreneurs and business owners, they tend to have this way of thinking that's quite unique. Go back to the early stage.
Crikey, I was a very unique child in many ways. Look, if I go right to the beginning, and I'll talk before the age of 15 or so. Look, I'm council estate family, working class, right? So, you know, we know what it's like. I was out there grafting, hustling, causing trouble from like the age of 11 or 12, drinking early, smoking early, having sex early, getting into fights, knife crime, stealing, all those things. That was like my early life. Yeah. I speak all right because I'm from Oxford. So when I tell that story, people don't believe me, but it's true. And
you jump in the bandwagon.
I know, literally. Like, I don't have to look for it or anything. But no, it's true. Look, when I was 15, I was nearly murdered in a park. Three guys beat me up with a T-bar scooter handle, ripped the ear off the side of my face. And actually, like, it was close. I could have been killed on that night and been another statistic. I carried knives. I should have stabbed the guy back. All those things. That was early life. So I don't come from like a silver spoon in my mouth. I come from my mum and dad, really hard workers. Yep. My dad was in a factory for 46 years. My mum was in a supermarket for 30 years. And she was a cleaner. And she was a paper person. And she also brought up 3 kids. Yeah. Hard work. So like that's my background. That's where I come from. I think quite early on, I started earning money when I was about 12. I was stuffing the papers in my local corner shop for like £5 a day or whatever. So as a 12-year-old, I used to get up at 4 a.m. on Saturdays and Sundays. That's where the entrepreneurial mindset starts at that stage, that if we wanted something, we had to earn it. Nothing was gifted to us. Even so, like, my dad used to make these little wooden dinosaur cutout things and sell them at boot sales on the weekend. Mm-hmm. He'd work 60 hours in the factory and then come and do that to make a bit more money. So we could even take old toys of ours to the boot sale and sell them. Or I would nick bikes and sell those and all that sort of stuff, which I was reasonably good at. But yes.
What, the selling or the nicking?
Well,
or both?
I was good. I wasn't a hard negotiator, but I mean, in Oxford where we are, people cycle everywhere. Yeah. So there are literally tens of thousands of bikes, and you became very good at seeing which ones had locks on and which ones didn't. And you just take it, spray paint it a different colour, and sell it for a tenner down the road. But I don't do that anymore. I do laugh because I've been back to Oxford Brookes University and I lecture for their real estate students occasionally now. And the first thing I said is, good news is I've stopped stealing bikes because this is where I used to get them from because the students couldn't afford locks back in the day. So like that was early life, and actually it was all about graft and hustle and working. And my mum and dad I love, and my mum in particular has been like my one motivation throughout this whole thing. I wanted to do better for her, and I wanted to do things that would support my family, and I'll go on to what I did with my money a bit later. So that hard work is where it came from. And so for me, really, I knew I didn't want to be like my mum and dad. I didn't want to work in a factory for 45, 50 years. Yep. I wanted to do things my own way. Now, I was an upstart kid. You couldn't tell me what to do. I did it my own way. And like,
Guilty.
But this is entrepreneurship. This is what I mean. And like very early on, I was doing things. I remember when I was a kid, Radio 1 released these beat bullying blue bands. And I went on and they were free, but I ordered like 25 of them. And then they all came up. They all turned up at my house, but then you couldn't get them. So I was selling them for a tenner each. I made like 200 quid doing that sort of stuff. So yeah, really early on, I knew that work wasn't going to be for me and I wanted to do something. Now, my life changed a bit when I was 16 because I got into sixth form. So all my council estate kids and mentality and friends and trouble, all of that I left behind. And I went into sixth form and I met my white middle class mates that all wanted to go to university, and they had 2 parents and good relationships and they had trust funds and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. So I was now the bad boy in this crew of like good people. So I did sixth form. I ended up going to university, and really that's where I wanted to try and make something of my life, because at the age of 18, I'd scraped into uni by the skin of my teeth. My mum and dad, they wanted me to go and start work because they'd seen me fuck about, frankly, for 18 years. Yeah. So they were like, look, Andrew, we love you, but we're not sure we trust that you can go to university and make something. They weren't being nasty, and actually they were very realistic. Yeah. So
based on what they've seen before.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And then, look, your parents know you better than anybody, like deep down inside. And so I ended up, I went and they had to cash in some bonds, and my mum had some savings because I couldn't afford to go, and they funded me in. So when I got there, day one, University of Essex, and I went to study business, I was like, I need to get my shit together now because now my mum and dad have sacrificed and I need to be here. I also happened to meet my wife on the very first day that I went into university. I held the door open for her as we went into halls of residence. We're both 39 now, and she was born the day before I was, if anyone believes in fate. So literally, Heather has been with me on this 20-year journey, which has been nuts because I haven't been here for like 10 of them because I was running a business. So yeah, so basically that's the story of how I got to university. And when I got there, I was like, right, better make a go of this. And but I started fixing bikes at university because I was good at fixing things and I was charging people for that. So like from the age of 12, every single week I earned money. And I have done for my whole life. And I think that mentality early on is where it all came from. And then I tried hard. I tried hard at uni. I got a first in my degree. And then I ended up going into a graduate scheme with a small facilities management or property business. And that's how I came into the world of property. And that's really how my early life got to that stage.
Oh, so that was by the way, this is a very common thing with entrepreneurs is it starts really young.
Yeah.
And normally they really struggle with school, the whole kind of concentrating on something, think, well, what's the purpose of this? Yeah. They're always kind of thinking, where's the next great idea? Yeah. And I love the fact that the self-awareness, right? Because the same thing happened to me.
Yeah.
I went from I need to stop being a little shit to I need to start taking things a bit more serious.
Yeah.
And I actually ended up becoming an electrician.
Did you?
So apprenticeship. Purely, it was a whole different...
We're in the same world.
It's a whole different... Yeah. So by default.
Yeah.
So my dad, I stayed on school, right? So in Scotland, we just primary, secondary. Yeah. And after you turn 16, you can leave school.
Yeah.
Well, my dad runs his own business. He's ran his own business since I was a young boy. Yeah. So and he's a grafter, and my mum, same thing, 2 jobs. Yeah. So we wanted anything, we knew you had to work for it. Yeah. Anyway, long story short, so I'd left school, so I stayed on for a 5th year. Yeah. And I actually got a couple of qualifications, nothing to write home about, but I had nothing before that. Yeah. But my dad asked me to go back to school. He said, I will pay you the same as what your mates are working. So say 40 quid a week or 30 quid a week. I will pay you the same if you go back to school and at least try.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm like, I don't like school.
Yeah.
Actually, I enjoyed school. I enjoyed my mates and the women, the girls at school. I enjoyed that, right? But I didn't necessarily enjoy school, academia. Yeah. But anyway, he made me go back to school and he paid me to go back. And I left school and I had a couple of qualifications, and I do mean a couple. Yeah. And I remember sitting about, and it was during the summer, and my dad came in one day, and it was a Thursday afternoon, and he says to me, James, he says, lazy bee, right? Yeah. No son of mine will lie in this house and not work. Yeah. Get a job or you're out. Yeah. So I got up on the Friday morning and he'd see the big yellow pages. Remember the yellow pages? Yeah. So he threw the yellow pages at me and he says, get a job. And I thought, I don't know what I want to do. Yeah. Like, I had no idea. Yeah. And I remember back years ago now, I know I'm slightly older than you, but back years ago with these huge big TVs, right? Yeah. They used to have coin slots and all that in them. Oh. When you were working class, you had to put coins in them. Wow. Right? And every time they broke down, the wee TV repair guy would come out, his wee brown coverall and his wee brown briefcase. Yeah. He'd fix the TV, and every time he left, my mum would say, that it's cost me a fortune. Yeah. So I thought, TV repair guys must make money. Yeah. So I get the yellow pages, went to TV repair. And in the olden days, it was the phones like that, right? Dial. I went through all TV repairs, appliance repairs. Yeah. I got to electrical, went through electrical, and no. And I was on the phone 3 hours.
What an experience.
No. Yeah. I was shit feared my dad was going to throw me out. Yeah. Because my dad was a no-nonsense guy. Yeah. Like, he was no-nonsense. When he says something, you be assured it's happening. And eventually one of them phoned the phone back. Wow. So everybody, no, bring on an apprentice, no. And then a company phoned back and they said, hi, young guy, just, that's me. Yeah. And he says, listen, nobody ever calls for jobs. He says, listen, because of that, would you like to come down for an interview? And I say, yeah, absolutely. And I put the phone down and forgot to ask where. So I had to think, what was the name of the company? What was the introduce yourself? So I had to go back through the yellow page and try and find the name of the company. Got it, phoned back. Anyway, got the address. Went that there and then I went down for the interview. Yeah. Right, now remember, I thought I'm going to fix TVs, right? Yeah. Went for the interview, sat down, they did a colour blindness test, passed that. Then they did an aptitude test. They call it a SEC test now, but an aptitude test, I passed that. And basically, and then he says, right, you start Monday. Wow. He says, Monday morning, come down here, the workshop's at the back of the main office. Yeah. Monday morning, 8 o'clock, I want you there. No worries, perfect. So I went home on the bus, no mobile phones then. Yeah. So I had to wait for my dad coming home. And I seen him walking, he locks the van, obviously his tools, he locked all the van up, and we walked across the grass, and I came running out. Dad, I've got a job. I'm going to fix TVs. And he's like, oh, wee man, well done. Yeah. Well done. So anyway, Monday morning comes, my dad takes me down, drops me off at the back of the workshop. I see all these men and they've got hard hats and coveralls, and I'm thinking, what kind of TVs am I fixing here? Still, I had no idea. So anyway, the guy comes out and shouts on me, and he takes me upstairs, and it was an office above the storeroom. Yeah. It's a storeroom office. So I went up there, and pulls out this big blue metal toolbox. And he says, right, there's a bit of paper there. He says, I want you to check that you've got all the tools in it. And I'm like, hammers and chisels. And I'm thinking, what kind of TV? I don't know. I'm confused here. And he gave me my coveralls and boots. And then a guy came up and says, right, Mr. Fleming, you're coming with me. And he takes me into his car and he takes me out to a building site.
Right, okay, wow.
And the penny dropped.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, I'm not fixing TVs. And I'm like, what is it I'm actually doing? The guy says, you're an apprentice electrician.
And that's how it started. And you stayed on. You stayed on. Well, your dad wasn't. You had no choice now. Your dad had dropped you off there as well. Isn't it amazing, though, how these things happen?
I know.
But can you imagine some kid now sat there with the yellow pages ringing through like 100 companies trying to get a job? And actually, that's really good advice for people trying to get a job.
Yeah.
Just determination. And every time you make a call and it fails, you can't think that this is not a success. It's just on to the next one, on to the next one. But you always write it down, like you say. You're lucky that you had a good brain, that you could remember which one that they called back on. Yeah, those round phones that we used to have back in the day as well. But
listen, my finger was literally bleeding. I'd called that many people because I was losing the will to live.
Yeah.
And then just at the blue, the call. That was the start of my journey.
My dad was the same. When I was at I went on to sixth form. So when I was 17, 18, I had to have a job. It wasn't a choice. And actually, my friends, they didn't because their parents knew study was very important. But to my family, study was important, but money was more. And I used to work in a nightclub on a Thursday and a Saturday night. I used to finish work at 4 a.m. on a Friday morning and then go to school when I was 18 years old after collecting glasses and things. But I had to. It was about contributing to the family unit. And I believe in that mentality of communities of families. And where I live now, all my family are within like 30 seconds of each other. So we're just far enough away from each other, but close enough if you want to be. But it now means like my kids and my nephews and nieces, they're in like a gang. They're already a little group, and they understand the value of eating together and supporting each other. And when someone's upset, what do? Falling out, arguing. All those are really important skills in life, but also in entrepreneurship and business as well, or in standard jobs too.
So let's go back to you decided, what was the vision when you first started the business? What was that? And because I want to talk about the tough days as well, because people don't understand that running a business or being a business owner or entrepreneur, call it whatever you want. Is a really, really tough gig. I mean, you've got to have a different kind of mindset. Yeah,
you do. So look, how did it start? So I did 4 years at that. So I went into a graduate scheme with this small business. I worked my ass off for them, right? So when I was 24, I became ops director. I had 250 staff underneath me, and I was only 24. Still didn't really know what I was doing. I had no skill, no trade. I had a degree, but that doesn't make you a good tradie. And the only way I could interact with people is by working with them, collaborating with them, being on their side. And because most of my team were working class as well, I was a nice guy. I would understand the challenges, and I really believed in things like being paid on time and getting your expenses, real basic shit that often doesn't happen. So I did then, we did 4 years. I got to director. We then got bought out by a big German business. So we went from a 10 million business to an 8 billion business overnight. And I did 2 years, and I hated it. I hated big business mentality. I hated wearing a suit and tie. I hated the train into London. I hated London in the end. It was just all of these things. It was just not for me. That isn't where I came from. It's not what I was aspiring to. So what I found is those small businesses, the small clients that we had when we were a 10 million business, they loved us because we were small. We were agile. We could do what they wanted us to do. When we became an £8 billion business, we couldn't. And
it was lost.
It was lost completely, almost overnight. And the staff were getting frustrated and things weren't happening. So I'd seen firsthand that bigger businesses within the sector weren't serving small customers very well. So that was my idea. So I thought, let's make the most customer-focused business that we can. Let's treat our staff as the first priority. So literally staff first, customers second, and then innovation and things third. So literally, I was like, right, I'm going to go and start my own business. And I handed my notice in, gave 3 months notice, and worked for those 3 months and built the business on the side whilst I was getting ready to go. And then in August 2014, I was there day one. The concept of the business was really simple. Bigger businesses aren't serving small customers very well. We are going to be the most customer-focused business. We are going to treat our staff so well, they're not going to believe what we're offering them. So So for the 10 years I ran the business, every single payroll, everybody got paid on that day. We made mistakes on payroll, but the mistakes were fixed.
Yep.
Every expense is paid on time. Back in the business I was in before, if your pay was wrong, you had to wait a month for it. People don't have a month. They need the money on that day. The mortgage has gone out. They need to do it. And that's what my family were like. And I was never accepting of those sort of things. So that was it. And then the third one was what I would call social value. So social good. It was about helping people in any way we could within our communities and outside of it as well. So like those were the three core things. But what that meant was any customer we could find, we were because I was 27 and I was relatively tech savvy and everything, we could adapt all of our systems around what the customer wanted. So in my world of property services, usually the big companies, if you go to a customer and the customer, you want to work with them, you have to do it the way the big company wants you to do it. Because they've got a big system, they've got finance process, HR process. I was like, no, you tell us. What do you want? How do you want it? What system do you want? How do you want your invoices done? How do you want your HR done? We would adapt what we did for that customer. It was so successful. And actually, like at the end of year one, we were turning over 1.5 million as an exit run rate. End of year two, 5 million. End of year three, 10 million exit run rate. So like it worked really well and we started to build up momentum. But what worked specifically was I tried to have this mentality that we were a big business from day one. A mentality in business is so important because you didn't want an opportunity to come in and say, oh, we're too small for that. You never want that mentality.
I've got a saying for that.
Go on.
This is a saying that I use all the time to businesses. Before you can have, you must first become. So if you want to be a big business, become it here. Be the business. Be the leader. Be whatever you want. Be it there first. It's almost the manifestation type thing.
You need to, because you need to turn the right opportunities down and take the right opportunities on. So like for me, my first contract was 200,000 a year. It was Bulgari Hotel, so like a 5 or 6 star hotel in central London, £15,000 a night to stay in their suite. We had the most famous people in the world there. Expectations were up here. Great for me because I want to be the best business out there. So
I love it.
My expectations are up here too. And we delivered really successfully and we had positive payment terms early on, which was helping with the cash flow. But then as soon as I had that Bulgari, which was an old relationship that I had that I went back and took on, I could then sell Bulgari to everyone else. So then quickly I won Yahoo, and then I won Candy Crush, and then I won London Zoo, and then I won Twitter. So like, it had these amazing names. Like, crikey, 18 months in.
And now you're a big boy.
Well, I mean, crikey, big boys in our world are like 5 billion turnover. Even when I got to 50 million turnover, people still called us small. But that's it, right? That's the mentality thing. So like the whole mentality piece was I wanted to be a £20 million contractor from the first day. So we would act in that way. And that's really important. Because say you're putting softwares into your business, I don't want a software that's going to get me to 5 million. I want to get to 20 because I feel like we're going to grow really successfully. So if it's another few thousand to put this better software in, put it in from the beginning. Because that's how you grow. Same with your finance system, your HR system. And many people will use Xero as their first finance system. I had Xero until we were about 25 million turnover. Brilliant, right? And then actually went on to Sage in the end and all the challenges that brings. But so that was the concept. Go to the market, say the big boys are shit at what they do, which I think they are. And I still think today there's challenges with those as well. And prove to the customers that you can offer them something that other companies can't. Now, entrepreneurial advice, go to the sector you want to work in. What do the big companies not do very well? And be really good at that. Because every business is different and every sector is different. And big businesses are typically rigid and they have difficult payment terms and all that. But you can adapt your sales to do that. In the sector of facilities management in the UK, there are 125,000 service providers.
Wow.
So I was one of 125,000. I didn't, and it's 100 billion turnover a year sector.
Wow.
I only needed 50 million of that to make a load of money off the back. So my point is, you may go into a sector that's saturated. This is one of the most saturated sectors that there are, but actually we're able to do something quite unique. And also EBITDA average in our sector is like 4%. We were delivering at 13% at exit. So like all of these metrics and like the net promoter score in our sector is -10 on net promoter score. We were like +68. All of these sort of like things that I could demonstrate to people that we were a better business and that we were doing things differently. And then we went on to work with Facebook and Netflix and Deliveroo and ASOS and all these amazing businesses. And we had one of the most impressive client books in the whole of the sector, even though we were only a £50 million business. And and that was the mentality. But I believed from the very first day that if someone like Twitter came along, we could service them. And actually we sold off the back of that technique. That
people don't give the kudos of being able to think like that.
Yeah.
Right for the day one. Who is it you want to be? What do you want? Who do you want? You want one of the biggest companies, and that was kind of when I set this business up. I went out there, and we do leadership and management training. Yeah. And the reason I set my company up is because see what was out there was cookie cutter. Like it was really old skill based cookie cutter, and I'm like, this doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right. I've been on them. I'd sent my staff on them. They would go away 4 or 5 days, nice hotel, come back with a nice certificate, I am a leader, and go back to work, and nothing had changed. Yeah. And I'm like, I reckon I can do a better job. So I did.
Yeah.
I did.
But
and I always knew I wanted to work with the biggest companies.
Yeah.
Like I started off with small, with kind of SME market. Now we work with all medium and large. Yeah. So that's our ideal client is all medium and large businesses now.
But that's the way to do it, because also I think referrals. So we didn't really do marketing. And actually we were a word of mouth business because people heard about us and we got better. If you work with bigger businesses, they have bigger networks. Yeah. And also in our world, in property services, people move on like every 2 or 3 years, generally, as a big generalization. But that means when people move on, they'll probably call you from the new place. Yeah. So say you've done some great training with someone, they go to a new business, they're going to want their new colleagues to do the same.
Exactly what happens.
And SMEs, look, I was and always will be an SME, so I believe in it. But actually trying to sell to bigger businesses, because like in your world, signing off a 10 grand item for doing some training is much easier in a big business than it is in a small business. Yeah. And actually,
the difference is the small business is maybe 4, 5, 6 grand.
Yes.
The large business is maybe 80, 90 grand.
Yes.
Yes, it takes a little bit longer. Yes. That sales process a little bit longer. Yeah. But rather than putting one person for one company, you're putting 15, 20, 30 people for the large company. That was what we realised.
Yeah. But that's just scale, and it's about having confidence and actually having that ability. But the one turning point for us, and a positive, and I'll talk about the negatives in a second, but the one turning point for us that was a positive, we were about 1.5 million turnover as a business, and we got the opportunity for London and Whipsnade Zoo. It was a £2.3 million contract per year, plus all the extra stuff that came with it. If you had the wrong mindset, you would have never taken on that contract.
Far too big.
Far too big. You literally tripled the size.
It could put you under.
It could, and there's always that risk. Yeah. But we didn't.
But that's what we're good at, though.
Yes.
We're good at the risk taking.
And that is when you start to go all in. Yeah. And I talk a lot about sacrifice and all-in mentality. When you are 1.5 million and you know that in a single transaction you can get to over 3 million a year in turnover, that's when you need to be focused. And we did, and it's been hugely successful, and that contract has been retendered and still have that contract today. But then you're looking after 20,000 animals and 700 acres across the south of England, which has a whole load of challenges that come with it as well. But I love the zoo, and a special place in our hearts, and my journey for sure. But actually, that mentality would have been easy to say, no, that's too big. But that is what propelled us. And that's how we ended up, run rating on 5 million in year 2 and all that sort of stuff. And it grew from there. But if you go into it with the right mindset, I think you can do it. You can't be deluded. And as entrepreneurs, what we're not always very good at is we keep doing the same thing over and over again. It doesn't work. And I think Einstein says the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. But actually, you have to be good enough to pivot. And I think pivot is what it's all about. But when you took all of those things and added a great social heart to what we did as a business, and we would try and do the right thing by people and support people, it just worked fantastically well. And those people that came on the journey with us, I'll forever be grateful for, and the senior team that we built. And just on the senior team, what worked for us, I had 15 senior people at the end that ran the board and the directors and everything. I had 100% retention over 10 years. Wow. I never lost a senior member of the team in the whole time because I handpicked them, I worked hard with them, we would adapt our role to make sure it worked for them. Entrepreneurship sounds great, and doing it on your own is great and all that, but you soon realise if you're going to grow, and it took me too long to realise that, and I probably could have done my journey earlier had I have taken my own advice here, but if you can bring people on earlier that you trust and that you're going to let them get on with it, and you're going to accept that they're not as good as you have to accept that.
And they never will be, because you're the business owner, you've got a different view of it all. And just you'll do whatever it takes.
Yes. And let them get on with it. And we ended up giving shares to those, and there was about a £10 million plus pot of shares that was split between them at the exit point and everything. So, that was a really good piece of advice. But I didn't take that advice until I was about year 6, year 7.
Yeah.
So,
wow. Okay, so that's all the kind of...
Yes.
Tell me some of the warts and all. So some of the real struggles, the things that it comes up and bites you in the arse that you just don't anticipate.
I mean, look, you've got to get used to being self-driven. Like, and a lot of entrepreneurs will talk about it. But people used to say to me in the early days, "Oh, it's great being an entrepreneur. On a Tuesday, you can have a lay-in." Well, if I have a lay-in on a Tuesday, I'm not out there hustling and I'm not networking. I was all in. So literally, I would get up at 5 a.m. I'd go to London. I'd have my first meetings at 7. I'd work all day. I'd go to a networking event at night. Yep. I'd probably come home, maybe not, stay in a hotel and do it all again the next day. Yep. I would be busting and busting and busting all week. Then on the weekend, I'd catch up with all my admin. Yep. That is fine as an entrepreneur. There's only so long you can do that before you start starting to burn out a little bit. But I was so determined that no one was going to beat me or break me and all that sort of stuff as a typical man. But actually, look, that meant I didn't see things like I didn't see my wife enough. Before I had kids, we just weren't doing enough together. I didn't see my friends. I wasn't seeing my parents as much, and they're an important part of my life. So I had really challenging relationships around those things because I wasn't there. And when I was there, I wasn't thinking about what was going on because I was always thinking about something else.
Exactly. Your brain is somewhere else.
It is. And actually, in the world of property services, offices don't stop breaking down at 5 o'clock at night. They break down all the time. And add 20,000 animals into the mix, they're always doing some crazy stuff. But so the point was, I could never be present. And actually, that was very frustrating for people. And on a Saturday afternoon, I used to go to my mum's to try and just spend a bit of time there. I'd fall asleep on the floor almost every time because I just knackered. Yeah. And like all of that starts to ooze out of you. So, and also when you are busting that hard and you're focused on everything, you forget things, like important dates. You're not sort of present in terms of trying to get nice gifts and support people, and you're not always there. And that is hard. That is hard. And you have to believe that you're on a bit of a journey to get somewhere, and you have to try and get to that point before relationships break down. Yeah. And let's face it, one of the things of entrepreneurships is divorce is very real in entrepreneurship. And like I mentioned at the top, my wife and I have been together 20 years now, but she stuck with me because I wasn't brilliant in terms of like being available and being around. And there were times where she was saying, I want you to come to this thing and prioritize our marriage. And I didn't. I said, I've got this work thing that I need to go for because if I can win this couple of £1 million contract, it's going to mean this. And so that was hard, and I'm incredibly grateful. What changed and what was also difficult was kids. So we had kids in 2019. We had two, one in 2019 and one in 2021. So one before COVID and one after. And actually, children drive you in a different way.
Completely different.
But biology of your brain, everything I've just said is very sort of like masculine and bravado and everything. Have a little crying baby girl that wants to cuddle.
Game over.
Absolutely. And actually, look, some people want to have kids, some people don't. I totally get it. Whatever works for you. But when there is something that you love more than you've ever loved before, it's even harder.
And there's no way to describe that love.
No,
there's nothing.
It's just a bond. It's just this connection. And for a while, my daughter was born. I was working hard. I'd come home at 6:45 most nights. I give her a bath. I give her back to my wife, and I carry on working. And then COVID hit. And then in the middle of COVID, I spent all this time with the kids. Yeah. And I came off the back of COVID, and I'm like, I don't want to go back. Why am I going to do this? And so COVID was, say, 21. I said to my wife, give me 3 years. I am going to do this now. Give me 3 years. I'll get it to a point where we can sell it, and I'll go hard. And luckily, it only took 2.5 from that point, because otherwise divorce would have been imminent on the run. But actually, no. So then I'd been working hard anyway, but then I hired a team. So that's when I put the team in place, and that's when I went even further all in to make it happen. Tried to prioritize the kids a bit more at that stage. My friends went to the absolute bottom of the pile then, because there was no time to see them. I wasn't going out. I wasn't getting drunk. I wasn't going to restaurants or anything. I was just all in on this. And then, in November 23, we got there and we sold, and I made more money than we anticipated that we would do. Yeah. And that was the point. But there's a lot of loneliness in that time. There's a lot of you questioning why. There's a lot of you don't even have time to think sometimes. And people go back and they say, oh, what was it like when? I was like, I can't really remember. I was literally...
I was so all in.
Well, I was living message to message to message. And if I was driving into London, I'd be on phone calls. Yeah. And I'd probably be looking at my emails at the same time. And it's not good and it's not glamorous. But that's the real all-in mentality. So since I stepped back and retired, I've really focused on trying to rebuild relationships. The last 2 years has been trying to get my friends back on side, which the boys are great, right? Yeah. I went to my mates and said, I'm really sorry I haven't been here. They said, we didn't even notice, Hulbert, that you weren't here. That's fine. So I've been on a couple of holidays with them and reconnecting with my wife, and she's retired too now, so we have all this time together, taking my kids to school and doing all that stuff, and then really just being back with my parents. I think we all take for granted every day that everything's going to be the same. Yeah. And I had a friend of mine, his best friend, Cameron, 33, in Oxford about 3 or 4 weeks ago, head-on car crash on a Saturday afternoon, and he lost his life. And he's 33, had a 5-week-old daughter that he left behind. That is how fragile life is.
Yes.
And actually, we take for granted every moment that it's not like that. And we're on the chase of the money and the Ferraris and like the nice girls and all that. Crikey, just slow down. What is it that matters to you? Because if family and kids or your dog or your mum, whatever, is what's important to you, enjoy it now.
Yeah.
Don't worry about the money. Like, you don't need to be rich to enjoy those things. But for me, I had to go on this ridiculous journey to learn that lesson.
Yeah.
And yes, I sit here in a position of privilege.
Nice position.
And I sit here in a position of privilege. I have a load of money. I have more money than I'm ever going to need. I'm not trying to flash my money. All I'm trying to do now is be present. And the most powerful thing that I do with my wife now, so we'll drop the kids off at school together, and then we'll go and have brunch, right? But leave the phones in the car. And just like chat to each other. And like, this is really good advice. Like, whoever you are, just talk to someone. Ask some questions. That you're not running around at 100 miles an hour, and all that's going to cost you is a coffee. And I know that's really basic advice, but I had to go on this journey to learn that. And actually, I love it now. And I don't. I am fortunate I get lots of offers to go into business and do left, right and centre. I'm actually not interested right now. And as soon as I started to get dragged back in again, I'm just reminding myself, Andrew, what's important. And what's important for me at the moment is my daughter's still at an age, she's 7, where in the morning she'll run into the room, she'll jump on me, she'll give me a cuddle. And that endorphin release, even if it's just for 5 seconds that you're holding onto that hug, magic. I don't care. That is worth more than any payday, more than any yellow car. Like, that's what matters to me. And you don't have to have kids. It could be with the ones you love. It could be with your partner. It's about those connections with people. I'm not spiritual. I'm not religious. I don't believe in any of that stuff. But I believe in the soul, and I believe about how you feel in here.
That's what religion to me is, though. Religion is it's a feeling. You know, call it what you like. It's been about a good person. It's about being a good person, about treating people with respect. No matter what, look at the good in somebody. And don't get me wrong, people will shit on you.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
That's religion 100%, to me. It's being a good person.
Well, and that's karma. And I really believe I'm a little bit focused now on legacy about what's next, because look, I'm very lucky. I did all this by the age of 37. So hopefully, touch wood, I've got another 30 years to live and everything's great, hopefully more. But so now I'm thinking about, what do I leave behind? And that's my real focus. So partly why I do podcasts is because I want the kids to hear what I'm saying now. So if I ever go, and the other thing I have for the kids is I have a memory box for them. Every time I travel, I get them a little card and where I've been and everything. Just in case I go one day, they know the story. And they know that's here. They know how I felt. They know how important that was. But also, I've planted a forest. So on the land that I have, I planted a forest, which is only like sapling height. And I'll never see it grow. And even in 100 years, it will still be growing. But that's an amazing thing to leave behind. I just bought a nature reserve that's on the side of my land, so that we have our own nature bit as well. All those things, they matter. And the other thing I do now is I'm one of the biggest blood donors in the world. Wow. So I donate blood every 2 weeks. And every time I donate, because I'm a big guy, I get 3 bags. I save 36 lives every 2 weeks when I donate blood. So I've already saved over 1,000 lives. And I have to live in a certain way. You make me feel really inadequate. No, but everyone always says that. And I'm like, but I used to give blood all the time. Yes. Yeah, I used to give it all the time. And but the thing is, so obviously, red blood, whole blood, you can do every 3 or 4 months if you're a man or a woman. But you can do platelets. And platelets save more lives, and they help cancer, and they help kids going through stuff. But actually, like, I care about that. And so I've done 100 donations now. So I got my little 100 badge. I'm aiming for the 250. But I'm one of the younger people in the UK that's done it. But you cannot donate more regularly. And also, it makes you focus on your health. Because if you donate every 2 weeks, you can't take drugs, you can't have sex with prostitutes, you can't have tattoos, you can't have this. It really focuses, because if you do any of those things and infect someone, you'll go to prison. It's really simple from that perspective. So I love it. And actually, so now, like, life becomes a bit about legacy. So sorry, that started as a negative conversation and ended up on where I've got to now. So loneliness and all in and missing stuff, that's definitely one of the downsides. The other thing is, you make some stupid decisions in the heat of the moment. Sometimes expensive ones as well. Very, very expensive ones. And I mentioned it just before we came on, but the worst decision I made cost us nearly 400 grand in one go. And we took on a new client. We trusted them. They were a charity. They were taking some space on the South Bank, and they were going to be supporting artists. Amazing. Exactly what Pareto is all about. This is who we want to work with. They racked up a bill of 2.1 million, and then one day the bailiffs turned up and shut the whole operation down. They owed us about 400,000 in total. And for anyone who's gone through bad debt, it's just gone.
Yeah.
And
There's nothing you can do about it.
And you can't hide it. It comes off your EBITDA.
Yeah.
And it's brutal, and you're trying to explain to the auditors, because I think we were about a £30 million ultimate at that time, and we lost 400k to this bad debt. It's just one of those things.
Yeah.
And actually, you can be angry about it, but I saw it as a lesson. And ultimately, I was like, look, we trusted the guy. It's our mistake. We should have been harder on the checks and all those sorts of things. We got a bit caught up in all the excitement of all this, and it was a hard lesson. And I think I've still got the bank statement that shows like the minus 380 or something in it from our finance director, just as a learning lesson on there. Now, you just have to take those things as lessons.
Yeah.
And generally, you're still a successful business. But the other challenge we had is in the middle of COVID, everybody was nervous about what it meant for them financially. So we had about 50 customers in COVID. One of the major ones we had, they just stopped paying us.
Yeah.
And there were, you know what? When something like that happens, you cannot get it out of your head, because you think if the other 49 companies stop paying us as well, the business is gone.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean about like the challenges of entrepreneurship. You may hear that your business hasn't been paid an invoice for someone else you work for. You don't really care. But when that happens, it's you.
Absolutely.
What are you doing about it? And you've never had that situation before. No one's had COVID before in terms of what we've done in business. And leaders you can look up to and entrepreneurs you can look up to, and they look like they have all the answers, but they don't.
No, they definitely
They're
don't.
just insecure little people like you are. Like we are. Everybody is
and
the same.
they're working it as they go along.
Exactly, and we're making it up as we go along. And I think that's why, like, the bravado thing I never bought into personally. I was always very vulnerable and open. And if I was having a bad day, you knew I was having a bad day, right? And good the other way around as well. But I'd always buy you a donut at the end of the whole situation. But I think for me, like, we just have to understand leaders don't know everything.
Yeah.
And
nor should you.
No. And
because if you're a leader that knows everything, then you're not building a very strong team, because they've got to come to you to have for all the man of all knowledge.
And I think it's Obama that says Obama says, even when he went into the biggest rooms in the world, the people around the table that were the most senior in those areas, he said, they're not all that.
Yeah.
It's like, don't let yourself respect them so much that you think they've got it worked out. Let them earn your respect.
Yeah.
And I completely buy into it. And I do lots of polls on my LinkedIn. And actually, I did a poll about, have you ever met a manager that you wondered how on earth they got to the top? And like 85% of people are like, yeah.
Absolutely.
So if that doesn't give you some sort of like motivation to go and be a good manager and a good person and work hard and be vulnerable and understand that that's how you grow, that's what you should be doing.
Absolutely.
And I believe that advice as well.
There's something you mentioned there about children, when your children come along. And I remember I was getting interviewed probably a couple of years ago now, and the question somebody asked me was, your biggest leadership lesson?
Yeah.
And I said, becoming a dad.
Yeah.
The minute my daughter was born, it was like a baseball bat in the back of her head, like, boom, this life is now going to look to me probably for the rest of her life, and I've got to lead by example. And that was my biggest leadership lesson. Yeah. My daughter now works for the company, so she works at the
wow.
Me and my wife set this company up together, by the way. So we've been working, we've been through the tears and snorters together. So see, when it's a bad day, it's a bad day. but do you know, one of our core values is having fun. Yeah. Right? That's our core value, because I love to laugh and my wife loves to laugh. So our core value is, even when the shit is hitting the fan, we need to see a funny side of it, because we've been there before and we'll come through it again. And so I wanted to go back to the leadership lesson. So my daughter now works in the company, and before she joined our company, people say, what is it your dad does? He does some kind of business thing. Now she really understands. She really, really gets it. She's like, oh, right, okay, I get what you do now. That is amazing. You talk about legacy. That for me is, you know, my daughter now looks at her role in her job. She works in the marketing department as a vacation in life now. No job. A vacation, and that feels so good. You know, that is a brilliant feeling. Yes, I'm still bloody working 6-7 days a week, but
you love it. And I mean, like, your enthusiasm is clear from that side.
I still love it. I still love it.
And I mean, I always asked my wife, would she like to work together? She always said no. She knew how hard I was.
A pain in the butt.
No, she knew how hard I was as a husband, let alone as a boss as well. But actually, that's my whole point about life. Do what you enjoy. Yeah. And like, if you enjoy working 6 days a week with your family and you've got the ones that are close to you, fantastic. Yeah. And the point, just going back,
I do it because I can, not because I need to.
Yes. But if you can ever get to a point in life that is what you do, that is magic. And just, I think so often we look towards other people to think that our happiness is based on what they've got.
Yes.
Just forget it.
Yeah.
Honestly, ask yourself a deep question. What is important to you? And base your life around that.
Yeah.
And like social media just destroys all of that stuff because it just makes us think we want all this other stuff. And obviously like the Louis Theroux documentary at the moment is very popular. The
I wrote an article about it.
Did you?
Yes. And I was raging when I watched that. I mean, I was not a happy chappy. Because I just think to myself, who believes that? I mean, I really feel sorry for those young men out there that are buying into that absolute crap.
Yeah. But the whole point is that they do buy into it.
I know.
And
these guys are making millions from it.
Yeah, and you see them, and like one of the guys who had the investment business that Louis had put 500 into and lost it all.
Within a month.
Yeah, but actually, this is what you do, and this is what I mean. If you can create a social media following and then sell stuff to them, you can become successful based off of your perceived success, even though you haven't had it so far. But yeah, that's the problem with the world. And actually,
but do you not believe in this? So that's where karma for me.
Yeah.
You think to yourself, one day this is going to come crashing down because you're selling a lie.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. And it is a lie. And actually, in some of my own videos, I'm challenged by those men and the masculinity and the six packs and the Dubai and all that.
Yeah.
And more recently with the attacks in the Middle East and the Dubai influencers are saying, oh no, it's still safe. Well, there's a fucking bomb going off in the background. I'm like, come on, put your masculinity down for a second, right? This is not what it's about. Safety is what's important.
Yeah.
I understand the Dubai dream. I get it.
Yeah.
But come on.
I used to live there.
Yeah, no,
many years ago.
But that is my point, right? Now at the moment, it's not safe. Get over your fucking bravado and actually do something safe.
Yeah.
Go back with your family. Go back and see your mum, right? It's okay to be vulnerable in that situation. And that's a big challenge that I have around the manosphere stuff and everything. But my daughter changed my life as well. Like we struggled to have kids, and it took us a long time to have it. So when Florence was born, it was just magic.
Yeah.
And that just everything changed in that moment. And when you hold it, and then with my son, I just feel such a responsibility. And you know, they're only 5 and 7. They're still young, but they got it all to work out. So I think like that definitely from a bad perspective. Like when you make big mistakes, like losing 400k in one afternoon, that hurts, and you have to get over it. And then you have all the loneliness stuff. And the final one I just say is like little mistakes, right? When I was early on, like literally on my own, before I had a little CFO and everything, I did everything. So I paid the invoices, I did the payroll, I set up the suppliers, I did the health and safety. I made mistakes every day. And I remember the first time I did a supplier payment run on my own, I didn't pay VAT to anybody because I didn't understand I needed to pay VAT. So I paid like these 10 invoices and they all came back saying, oi, where's the 20% that's left? Now that's really annoying because now you got to do it again. And then I used to run our finance system at the very beginning, and I put through this invoice, which was about 200k, but I'd accidentally done something that made it look like the costs had come in twice. So when the new CFO came in, he's like, why have you got this 200k in here twice? I was like, I have no idea, Bill, what's going on. He goes, well, I'm going to delete one and add 200k back to your profitability. And it took us from loss making in the first year to a profit making in the first year in one go. I said, Bill, you should have told me that you wanted 10% of this that you're about to make because you saved us. But like all those early lessons, you do really quickly. And but you can't beat yourself up. You just need to be better. And I go back to like hiring resource. The sooner you can get resource that can do that real menial stuff for you and focus on getting it right, the sooner you can go and be a better entrepreneur. I don't believe in this phrase, work on your business, not in your business, from the very beginning. From the beginning, you work in your business until it is big enough.
You're doing everything because you've got that many hats.
Well, you do, and actually you probably can't afford everything else either. But a lot of these entrepreneurs who come on early, they're like, oh, I want to work on my business. I'm like, mate, you need to work in your business first, get it to a point where you can then work on it. Don't believe what every influencer is telling you that you need to work on it. It is bullshit. Get to a point where you can build it first and then go on. So, yeah, like I just think those early lessons, like learn them, make the mistakes and do it. And that's why I really love this idea that if you're in a full-time job, start a business on the side, get it registered, get the website going, get the payment plan going, whatever. Make those mistakes while someone else is paying your salary. And then when you've made all the mistakes and you've learned about it and you've got a little bit of a following, then take a bit of a step to the right. I'm not a book reader, right? So I'm sorry I haven't read your book.
I'm an audio guy.
Yes, you're an audio guy. Okay, fantastic.
I'm an audible book guy.
I've only ever read one business book in my whole life, which was a book called The Escape Manifesto, and I wouldn't even recommend it. It was a waste of my time. But The Escape, no offense to the author if he's listening, but The Escape Manifesto is effectively create a pot of money to the side. So have your full-time job, start saving, and give yourself like 6 months of money. So then you've got, if you ever leave your job, you can take that 6 months of money and give something a go. And I think people these days call it a fuck you fund. So if you ever have a bad time with your boss, you hand your notice in, you take the 6 months. To some degree, I believe in that ethos that just leaving your job one day with nothing, like I did, is not always good advice because you need a bit of a safety net. And like going back to karma and things, what I believed right at the start was if it all went wrong, I'd lose all my money, I'd lose my marriage, I'd lose my house, I'd go back to my mum's house and I'd live in the bedroom that I grew up in.
And start again.
And I start again. And I believed I'd go and get a 200k a year job. I had that mentality that I would. Luckily for me, I didn't need to. But if you give yourself some time to build that up, that's a great way to do it. Do it on someone else's time. And just the final 3 bits on that. You need to build your personal brand, as everybody talks about. And the way you do that for free is go to networking events and meet as many people as you can, tell the story, be a nice guy, don't sell to them, just tell them about yourself. Write articles in the press, it's free to do that. Find your trade press and do that. And try and win awards. Do some stuff that's going to get you recognised at awards level. For me, for 6 years before I started, I did those 3 things. And I just had such a brand when I started that when I was calling companies up, although it was me in my bedroom on my own on day one, I'd had 6 years of building a brand. So I wasn't unknown. And I'd won a couple of awards and I'd done a couple of things. So that's really good advice because this concept of just entering a new sector on day one and nobody knows you and you're a success, I don't think so.
Never going to happen.
No.
Never going to happen.
So do it while someone else is paying you. And I think like that's good advice.
Okay, so top 3 pieces of advice in business or in life. What would they be and why? What's your top 3? So somebody's listening to us with entrepreneur or maybe somebody leaving school that's thinking of getting into business or just life in general. What's your top 3 pieces of advice?
So number 1 is all about what success means to you. Okay, so what is success? Not someone else's version, your version. And understand that if success is a destination, so is it 10 million quid? Is it more time with your kids? Is it a Ferrari? What is success? I'm not judging you, I don't care. Whatever your success is, that's your choice. But when you're aiming for it, I work with a business psychologist, and he talked about success when you have a goal is like swimming towards an island. And at some point, you're going to keep swimming harder and harder and harder and harder, and you're going to get there, and you're going to get your success.
You can see it.
You can see. Well, at the start, you can't see it, but it's a bit like gold Olympic medalists. They work and work and work for 4 years. They get their gold medal. They're on the island. Then what?
Then what?
So the advice is have a goal, but the more important piece of advice is what happens when you get to the goal? What happens when you get on your island? And a lot of entrepreneurs suffer with depression after they finish. I've been very fortunate I haven't, but I've had so many more goals after I got to the island. So have a goal, define it, write it down, put it on a board, see how many days it's going to take you to get there, challenge yourself on it, but have a plan for afterwards. That's my number 1. Number 2 is, I've said it already, but spend time with people you want to spend time with. That's my life advice.
Critical.
Just do not take for granted that everybody you love or want to love or be next to or text or whatever is going to be here tomorrow. And men under 45, we know things like suicide are really prevalent for our age. And actually, it's so important that you look after people. If you're thinking about, oh, should I reach out to that person? Yes, do it. Like there is no harm, and like just don't take for granted that everyone that you love is going to be here because life is precious. And we all learn that at some point, and we deal with grief more as we get older because more people that we know die.
One day, all of a sudden, people are about to start to drop dead.
They do, and like you can have as many millions as you want in the bank; it doesn't matter. And I go back to that, and on reflection, my grandfather, who was on the council estate in the 50s, running the community centre. His funeral was one of the biggest attended funerals I've ever been to. He was a great man. He didn't have any money.
That's success.
That's
real success.
They
literally when people give a shit.
They were on the top bit. They were queuing out the door. There was so many tears. It was about 10 years ago. That was success. It didn't matter about money. He didn't have money. He was a great guy, and he helped so many people. And my grandmother, she lived for another 10 years. She just passed away a couple of weeks ago. But for her, like there was a children's home on the council estate as well. And my nan and grand would say, hey, just come in and eat. If you want any food, just come in and eat. Children's homes in the 70s weren't a very nice place. So 3 of the kids from those homes are at my nan's funeral, and they still called her mum. And they were like, because she was like the only positive female figure and the father figure that they had. That is so powerful. Don't matter about your Ferrari at that stage. You know, it matters about how you make people feel. So I think that'd be number 2. And then number 3, I'd just say enjoy it, right? And like, even though I ran the business really hard for 10 years, I always made the business do things that I enjoyed. So skydiving was my thing. So I love skydiving because
I've done a few.
Have you done a few as well, right? So only
old tandems.
Yeah, old tandem. Me too.
Yeah.
Old tandem. I did it for 2 reasons. My weight goes up and down, right? Sometimes I eat loads, sometimes I eat nothing. I'm an all-in guy. But basically, on the tandem jumps, those 60 seconds when you are falling out the plane before the parachute is opened, I promise you are thinking about nothing else than survival. And even though it's loud and it's cold and it's beautifully like you can see the sun and everything, you're just in that moment for 60 seconds. So we did 10 in it. So I did 10 personally. We did about 100 dives in total. But we did things like we climbed the 3 peaks. We did like go-karting. We spent 25 grand on donuts in 2019. So like I always tried to make business fun as much as I could. And so like for me, don't forget to have fun.
One of my core values.
Is that? Yeah,
fun.
That's right.
Fun.
But like
having fun.
Just, it's so important and it's so easy to forget. And actually, I think sometimes in those moments, I always used to have my epiphany moments in the shower because the shower was like the only time when I didn't have my phone in my hand or a laptop or something. And I used to listen to music. Like music was such a powerful thing for me emotionally. And in my, I'm very lucky to have like a separate summer house. In my summer house, I just have lyrics all the way around the outside that I've just got printed that meant something to me as I was going through the journey. And I love pop music. So it's like Busted and McFly and Oasis and all that sort of stuff. So like, have some fun. Like, don't forget to, because again, like life is precious and you never know when things are going to change. And the final part on that is I love food, right? Food is massive.
So that's why I go to the gym 6 days
I can
a week,
see you go to the gym.
I love food though.
Yeah.
I absolutely love
What food do you like? What?
I love Italian. I love Japanese. I love everything and anything. I love Indian.
Yeah.
When we go on holiday, we eat what the locals eat.
Yes.
I will eat. My wife, luckily, is the same.
Yes.
We just love food, and my wife is an incredible cook.
Yes.
And everything, by the way, we do not eat any processed foods. Everything is made from scratch.
Wow.
Even the sauces are made fresh from scratch.
Well, it sounds like you should be running a cookery school as well alongside this.
I think that's her dream right enough, maybe not mine. But I love food.
But like, I just think food is really important, and I like the food that you enjoy eating. And like, I have a phrase that is, I don't want to look back and think I wish I would have eaten that, right? I'm lucky. I travel a lot in Europe now, and the reason I go to Europe is because firstly I can donate blood when I come back. So if you go further, it becomes more difficult.
That was one of my challenges because I lived in Africa.
Yes,
I
of
had
course.
to stop giving blood for 5 years or something.
That's right, and India is challenging as well and everything. But what I would do is I'll go and I'll do a tour of the town or city, and then I'll do a bakery tour as well. And when I'm on holiday, I eat what I like. And then when I come home, I'm clean and I do whatever. So like, actually, I love that. And like, I just love the ability to do that. And like I mentioned my weight. So when I decided I was in those 3 years to sell the business, I really honed in about 9 months before or 7 months before. And I woke up one day and my weight had gone up because I've been eating too much shit, frankly. And I just went on 500 calories a day for 7 months straight. And I lost 9 stone.
Wow.
9 stone in 7 months, just through diet. No Manjaro or surgery or anything like that. And I got down, I was 24 stone, got down to 15 stone. Bloody Lad Bible picked up the story and it was all over the place. And my wife said to me when I was 15 stone, she's like, I'm not attracted to you this thin. You know, actually, we've been together for a long time. She's like, I need you to put some weight back on if you want to maintain the intimacy.
It is when you lose too much weight, your face, everything, you look gone. You look unwell.
So I put a couple of stone back on. I'm still 17 stone today. But actually, like that was a big thing for me. And if you on the day we sold the business, we had a photographer there. And when you look at the photos, I am gone. And you can see like there's just nothing left on me, and I'm grey where I haven't had enough calories and everything. But I went and I had like a full body check, like prostate, testicles, absolutely all the STIs you can imagine, all that sort of stuff, and everything came back clear. And actually, I know at 17 stone, even though I'm technically still overweight, but that's a good weight for me, and my body is healthy, my blood pressure,
you know when it's a good weight, because I'm considered overweight, not overweight, overweight. And I'm like, cut. I don't have body fat. How the hell am I overweight? Okay, I've got a little bit.
I don't think so. But like BMI is just a terrible thing for it. But I'm not someone where my weight impacts my confidence. I mainly do it for health. And actually,
it's all for health for me.
For the kids and for the future.
It's all about health. It's about giving. I always think, right, if you're driving a car, the reason that you service it is that the more you look after it, the longer it's going to go. And that I want to make sure that if anything ever happens to me, I am in the best possible shape to overcome it, to jump that hurdle, whatever that may be. Yeah. And that's why, and of course, I love food.
Yes.
I really, really like food. I don't really drink.
No, me neither.
I very rarely drink. I mean, every year, January, February, March, I don't drink at all, not even one. So I always take 90 days to clean myself out from normally the holiday period. Yeah. But I don't really drink.
I think it's
can't be bothered with a hangover.
No, but also as an entrepreneur, you cannot be bothered with a hangover either.
Because you're on the game constantly.
In my first job in Rollright, I did a lot of entertainment, so I was drinking a lot. This was the student in me, but because they gave me a credit card, I was taking clients out. I could drink back in the day. Every time I went to the bar to buy them drinks, I would take a top shelf whiskey at the same time, and I just worked my way through the whiskey.
That's my tipple.
Oh yeah, but then
that's my tipple as a whiskey.
I'd be twice as pissed as they were because I'd had like 8 shots of whiskey whilst I was there at the same time. But yeah, in my heyday, I was a proper binge drinker. So I don't have a pint at home or go to the pub for a pint, but I would go. This is true. I would go into a pub and buy 500 shots and just give the whole pub shots because I used to negotiate with the staff about getting a discount as part of being an entrepreneur. And I tell you what, you want to make friends, buy 500 shots and go away and give them for free. And I'm not like a shot girl, with the belt on or anything. I'm just like, hey, do you want some shots? Here you go. But yeah, I don't miss any of that now, because actually you don't want to be hungover. You want to be present for the time that you're there, and health matters. Yeah. As you get older, for everybody, but men in particular, your body matters. Yeah. And when you're on like 3-day hangovers and it starts to still be hurting on the third day, it's
bad. It doesn't take a lot to give you a 3-day hangover any longer.
No. If you have a couple of pints and a Chinese, then that's it. You're ruined for like 3 days. But so yeah, like that body thing it becomes more important. And when you add children into the mix or loved ones into the mix, it changes something in your brain biologically, I think. But it's also age. Yeah. I like to think I'm still young, but I'm 40 this year. And actually there's hopefully more time to go. But yeah, those young men in their 20s who are having 10 pints and then still getting up and going for a run next day, enjoy it while you can.
Enjoy it while you can, because it ain't going to last long. Do you know another thing about health, right? I know we're way past our time, but the thing about health for me is my daughter has grown up seeing me keeping fit.
Yes.
My daughter is now a fitness fanatic.
Yes.
She's in the gym 6-7 days a week. And that was when she grew up, she's like, why do you go to the gym? She couldn't really get it in her head about why I was in the gym all the time. Yeah. And I was like, because it makes me feel good and I keep healthy. And now it's amazing how they've modelled you, they've watched you all those years, and all of a sudden, I never asked her to go to the gym. She started going to the gym and she's like, oh, no, I get why you go to the gym, Anyway, listen, it's been an absolute
We could keep going, couldn't we?
This could be a 2 or 3 hour podcast. And that's what I love about the Success Issues podcast, because it's us just having a blather, just... What's life really all about? Why do we do it? Why do we put ourselves through the tears, the snotters, the pain? And there's always a reason, whether it's family, whether it's an end goal, whether it's a vision. And that's what I love about these conversations. It's almost like I'm sitting having my own audiobook for the next hour. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's great.
And I appreciate your tact in the way that you come across, because actually, I do a little bit of podcasting now, and it's amazing just to be open, have the conversations, and be a bit vulnerable about this stuff.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what people can resonate with, because it's real. We're not here trying to pretend that everything's perfect, because we're not. And but thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.